Okay, so in all honesty, the supplement really hasn't gotten any better, but they're different. Hey, hello, how are ya? It's Dr. Faithy Faithful Doc, and today we're going to catch up on how I've been doing with this SIBO journey. So let's get started. Okay, to be completely frank with you, it's been great. I'm not gonna lie. Getting off antibiotics was one of the best things I could have done for my entire body, and my body honestly thanked me. To recap, we are on now phase 2 of this journey. Phase 1 was the kill phase where I literally killed all the bugs off. Phase 2 is where we're gonna repopulate and rebuild the gut. Therefore, I'm going to be avoiding all foods that irritate my gut, as well as add in a few more supplements. And then phase 3 is where we're probably, hopefully, maybe in all hope in this world,
stay in remission.
See, the problem is that a lot of times people go back into flares, and that's what you're trying to prevent. So right now, I'm trying to rebuild the gut lining, get rid of the extra bugs, and just kind of, start from scratch here. So I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty terrified at rebuilding this part and doing all of these things because the FODMAP portion kind of scared the crap out of me, not gonna lie. It's pretty intimidating when you think about it. I'm gonna do a whole video on what low FODMAP diets are, why they're important, and all that goodness. But for me, I was pretty terrified, because I had to pull out everything that I love in my life, which is gluten, most dairies, onions, garlic, mushrooms, all my favorite vegetables. Most things have those things in it. And you would be shocked, just like you'd be shocked to know how much sodium are in things, to know how many things have onions and garlic in them. So that was a little bit of a mental shock. But at the same time, when I went from antibiotics to the low FODMAP diet, I thought that the fun part would have been the antibiotics, not because I felt like crap, because I did, and it was awful, but more importantly was that I couldn't eat all the things I wanted to eat. So I was really pumping up what I was supposed to eat so that I could kill off all the bacteria and give those antibiotics a good fighting chance. Now, we are now in a portion where we have to avoid all of those things, which I thought was going to be really hard. Because frankly, when you start pulling things out of people's diets, they tend to get really depressed and anxious because it's comfort, not only comfort food, but it makes them feel comfortable to be able to eat things. And honestly, food is life. There is whole cultures based on food. The things that we do for food, the things that we do around food, the things that our families do around food. And it's really hard when you can't eat like everybody else. So that really scared the crap out of me. So I'm not gonna lie, the first day was pretty rough. I was eating just rice and vegetables. And I was like, what the hell do I eat? Because most things have some kind of natural flavors or natural seasoning, and you don't really know what to look for. Thank God for the internet though, because I was able to figure it out, and I'm going to be able to share those tips with you people, so you're welcome in advance. So it's day 1 of the FODMAP diet, and damn, has it been a little rough, let's just say that. Finished my antibiotics yesterday, and we're starting off with a very clean slate. I pretty much have nothing in my house prepared for me. It's really interesting because of the type of foods that you have to eat in a low FODMAP diet, that I'm very limited to what I really particularly not only like as foods, but what I can actually eat. So today I've had some lettuce, a carrot, and I'm about to dig into lunch, which is rice with gluten-free soy sauce, because today's day 1. I'm actually really excited about not having as much pain and everything. As we all know right now, the is in full-fledged, and a lot of people are clearing out the shelves in general. People who have severe diet restrictions, they're having even a harder time than people who are just trying to get food in general. I wish that we'd stop with the mass hysteria, but I understand how people need to stock up on food and just buying what you need and not having to over-prepare. Like, we're not trying to get bunkers here, So anyway, I'm gonna enjoy myself some rice with some gluten-free soy sauce. Oh, this is a cute angle, isn't it? Rice with soy sauce never tasted so good when you don't have much options. So
Cheers to that.
I was actually really fortunate to be able to be intelligent enough to look up things in advance to figure out what I could be eating, because basically I had no idea what the hell I was going to be looking for. So I found a company. They ship you sauces and condiments and a few other things like spices that don't have onions and garlic in them. So thank God for those people. As the days progressed, I actually noticed that my stomach symptoms started becoming less horrible. I stopped having as much gas and bloating and pain, although it did take about 3 or 4 days for me to really notice the difference between when I first started the diet and then obviously my body just stopped reacting. Because basically what happens is that when you insult your body for weeks on end, years on end, months on end, whatever your situation is, your body doesn't just stop having reactions. It has to get used to the fact that you're not constantly insulting it. So it took me like 3 or 4 days to feel that difference. So to recap this phase, basically what we're doing is we're trying to repopulate the gut from all what the antibiotics did, as well as heal the leaky gut because your intestinal permeability causes you to have worsening symptoms. Also, we're going to be taking a medication which is going to help move things through the GI tract, so therefore that you don't have any kind of stagnant food. Therefore, it's going to be start fermenting and bubbling and making you have gas and bloating and pain. This would probably be the easiest if I just go one by one in terms of how I take things throughout the day. I intermittent fast. Personally, I feel like it's the best way for me to maintain my weight. It helps my gut kind of rest so that therefore it can rebuild. Fun fact, your gut rebuilds its lining every 3 days because of the high amount of HCl in your system. Your stomach would literally eat itself if it didn't have a lining every 3 days. So if you let your body rest, if you let your gut rest, and therefore you fast as long as you possibly can between meals, your body will have time to be able to rebuild the lining. If you stop insulting it with HCl every time you eat every 3 hours, bad idea. So I think that intermittent fasting is actually a really helpful thing when it comes to rebuilding your gut from SIBO. So that's step 1. Intermittent fasting. So I don't eat until around noon. I usually don't eat breakfast. So the first thing that I end up taking throughout the day is a digestive enzyme. So I have 2 different digestive enzymes that I actually take. I found out one of them actually has something that I can't particularly take, so I don't normally take it during this phase. The problem is that if you have a probiotic that tends to have a prebiotic in the formula, you end up having a regrowth of the bacteria, and you can't really nail down why you're having the problem that you are. So the first one that I usually talk about, that I've talked about in the previous video, is critical digestion. Now, I love this digestive enzyme. It's actually worked the best for me. The problem is that it has 1 billion CFUs of probiotics that I don't know if I can necessarily take during this phase, and I'm being very cognizant and cautious about the things that I put in my body due to the fact that I don't want to rebuild and I don't really want to go through that antibiotic phase again. What I have switched to is something called DigestZyme by Designs for Health. One of my favorite companies is Designs for Health. It's a very expensive brand, but it's because they actually test their supplements to make sure what they actually offer is on the bottle, so therefore you can trust it in quality, which is what I need for my patients. Now, you might remember me talking about the fact that I want to be able to rebuild the lining of my gut. Yes, it does turn over every 3 days, but a lot of times it needs a little bit of help, and there's some supplements that help you actually rebuild, or what I like to call spackle over the holes of intestinal permeability. Now, there's one company that I really, really love, and I mentioned that, which is Designs for Health. They make this product called GI Revive, and I normally take that. 2 problems with it. Number 1, it's 7 pills per serving. Look how big this bottle is. Those are huge, aren't they? I'm supposed to take 7 of those bad boys. Also, the other thing that's a problem is that it has pectin in it, which unfortunately is not low FODMAP, and I was having some gas, bloating, and pain when I started taking this supplement. Although I love it, I'm probably going to wait for at least 3 to 6 months to be able to continue to take it, therefore I can kind of rebuild it. But what I do like in rebuilding formulas is a good amount of zinc, which helps close up those gap junctions, so therefore you have less holes in your stomach, and then also a lot of things that'll kind of spackle over. So in lieu of using the GI Revive, I'm actually using a company called Priority 1 SIBO Rebuild, because it has the zinc, it has the glutamine, it also has some acetyl L-carnitine and some lion's mane, which is a type of mushroom
kind of a shame I can have.
But it really helps rebuild the gut lining without causing any kind of extra gas, bloating, pain, and other issues. Quick disclaimer, when you take zinc, make sure you don't do it on an empty stomach because the zinc is actually a gut irritant and it can make you super duper nauseous.
Super duper.
Now, what did I do when my gut was all inflamed and angry? There's a few things that I do for an upset stomach, and I've mentioned this in the last videos. I take something called GI detox or an activated charcoal. Let's talk about some hacks that you need to know when you are nauseous and having tummy ache. Number 1, peppermint. Amazing for nausea. Some people really love ginger for nausea. It gives me heartburn, so I can't do that. What I do is I put some peppermint underneath the nose or behind the ears, and it really helps with that upset stomach, kind of takes that nausea away. Another one. Number 2, use a cold towel behind your neck. A lot of times that'll be pulling away the blood, the flush, everything that's happening up here, and makes you focus on the back of your neck, which is nice and cooling and helps nausea pass. Number 3, if you're having gas, bloating, and pain, try putting on a hot pad on the stomach. That helps relax the muscles, the cramps, and therefore it kind of helps move things along. I've noticed it works phenomenally. Now, this whole phase is about rebuilding the system, and that involves not only rebuilding the gut, like we mentioned, but also rebuilding the gut microbiome. Honestly, that's a hard part because when it comes to SIBO, your whole problem in the first place was that you had too much bacteria. So now, what are we gonna do? We're gonna be giving it probiotics that won't have any prebiotics in it and therefore really great strains. And then also we're gonna bonus add some type of yeast called Saccharomyces boulardii, which has been really helpful in terms of rebuilding the growth of the bacteria without overgrowing non-beneficial bacteria. So what do I use for my patients and myself when it comes to rebuilding the gut bacteria? It's called Lactoprime Plus, and it's by a company called Claire Labs. What I like about this company is not only do they make sure that they have the correct amount of strains that they put in here, they not only list them on the back of the label, but also you have to keep them refrigerated, which means that they are a higher quality product than the ones that would be shelf stable. They have 25 billion CFU per a tab. Honestly, when it comes to probiotics, I don't recommend anything less than 3 to 10 billion bacteria. I feel like anything else less than that isn't really beneficial. You really need to be dosing it high if you want to replace it. And then on top of that, just a great company overall, very trustworthy. And then also from the company Clarebiotics is my Saccharomyces boulardii. This has 3 billion CFU per a capsule. Phenomenal product, really helps rebuild the growth. I also noticed that I haven't had any issues with any gas, bloating, or pain like I've had when I tried doing just a general like Nature's Bounty or any of those kind of probiotics. Another disclaimer when it comes to probiotics is that you want to be taking it with food. If you take a probiotic outside of having food, your stomach acid will destroy it. When you put food in the system, it will incorporate with the food and therefore it'll have a better chance of being able to seed the lower digestive tract and not get destroyed by the acidic environment that is your stomach. Last but not least, we have the actual medications that I am taking for this portion of the diet slash phase. And what it is something called a prokinetic. A prokinetic is basically making sure that food doesn't get stagnant in the GI and it helps the MMC or the motility motor complex move things through the GI. So therefore, it makes sure things don't get stagnant and ferment. The one that I'm using is erythromycin. Now you might be interested to know that erythromycin is actually an antibiotic, but what they did find is when you cut it into very small doses, around 50 milligrams or so, you actually can get some prokinetic function out of it and it doesn't actually act as an antibiotic. So I'm using a medication grade instead of using the GI kinds that I could use with herbs. And the reason is because I tend to get really bad heartburn with those ones because they tend to have ginger in it. You know, as I talk about this, I'm realizing why does ginger cause me to have such bad heartburn? But maybe it's just my condition right now. You know, maybe in the future ginger will be phenomenal. I like the taste of ginger. I just can't do it in the high amounts that they want me to be able to move my GI tract. So I'm taking about a 3-month supply of that erythromycin once at night. You want to be able to do it at night because you don't want it to move around with the rest of the day, and you'll be able to have that rest and relaxation at night, so therefore you can get everything moving. That way when you wake up in the morning you can have a nice, you know, movement, and therefore you can start your day fresh. I have noticed a little bit of a side effect with it though. I tend to get a little more like gas in the morning, and I think it's just moving it a little bit too quick. But you know, this whole thing is about sexy gut stuff, so you just gotta deal with it, right? So that's what I'm doing. I'm doing a low FODMAP diet. I'm doing all these supplementations, and then I'm just trying to live my life and learn new things. So I'm pretty excited because right now, even though the rest of us are going through all this craziness, I'm trying to fix something that I did to myself like 4 freaking years ago, and it's been rough, guys. So what's the future? I'm gonna do this for about 3 to 6 months, and then after the 6-month part, I'm gonna move into phase 3, which is the continuing to be in remission, hopefully, and then also just being able to rebuild everything, just get a better lifestyle and stop feeling so dang awful all the time. So I decided on the food portion of my channel that we're going to restart doing some low FODMAP things, because I feel like there's a lot of people who have issues with gut health. They don't really realize that things like onions and garlic and a few other ingredients are causing it to be worse. So I'm going to start making some nice delicious foods on that portion and sharing those recipes with you, because I feel like when it comes to restrictive diets, we don't know what to eat. And you know what? There's a lot of things we can eat. So that's all I got for you this week. I really appreciate your guys' time. Thank you so much for your energy. Be safe out there. Enjoy yourself, even though this is a hard time in society. And don't forget to like this video if you like it. Give it a big old thumbs up.